Hello, I'm Lori Osgood, the Family and Consumer Science Agent in Gadsden County. Today we're going to talk about the importance of food safety when cooking. So why is food safety so important? Even though people believe that they know how to keep their food safe, many still become infected with foodborne illnesses by practicing unsafe behaviors in their kitchen. In order to improve food safety practices at home, we must learn more about how foods become unsafe and how we can change our unsafe food handling habits. So here's some high-risk foods. These are foods that are a little bit more sensitive to pathogens and resulting foodborne illnesses. Some of them include meats, poultry, eggs, soy, etc. So here's some of the common foodborne illnesses. We have bacteria, viruses, and parasites. Some of the more common ones you probably hear about are Salmonella, Giardia, staph infections. Um, if you've ever had food poisoning before, you know how awful these pathogens can make you feel. Okay, so the Fight Back campaign helps us remember the four main rules for food safety: clean, separate, cook, and chill. So the first rule is clean. It's really important that you apply good cleaning practices when preparing foods to cook. Clean all surfaces, kitchen surfaces, any surfaces where there's equipment or utensils or anything like that before you use them to cook with. Everything that touches your food should be clean. Before you put food on your kitchen counter, wash the counter with water, with clean soapy water, and a paper towel or clean cloth towel. This will help keep germs from getting into your food. Rinse food and vegetables well under clean running water before you eat them. Just like everyone tells you, it's really important to wash your hands with soap and warm running water before and after you touch raw or uncooked foods. Remember the 20-second rule, which is enough time to sing the happy birthday song twice in your head. Simple hand washing habits can keep bacteria from getting into your food and making you sick. Okay, the second rule is called chill. This means that it's important to keep foods cold. Chill foods like milk, eggs, and meats by keeping them in the refrigerator. Bacteria likes to get into foods that are wet and have lots of nutrients like milk, eggs, and meats. Keeping foods cold in the refrigerator at 40 degrees Fahrenheit or below will help keep bacteria from growing in these types of foods. Put cold foods back in the refrigerator as soon as you have finished with them so they stay cold. If foods like these stay out of the refrigerator at room temperature for more than 2 hours, you'll need to throw them away, as bacteria grows pretty quickly after 2 hours. When in doubt, throw it out. When stocking your refrigerator, make sure you place food items in their proper order. Here's kind of an example of a refrigerator. The bottom shelf is a drawer. You can't really tell, but that's what it is. Drawers can help protect these types of foods, such as salads, fruits, and vegetables. This will help eliminate spillage from meats and poultry onto the ready-to-eat foods, such as cheeses and leftovers. So if you can put the more sensitive foods higher up, then you won't have juices and that kind of thing leaking onto those sensitive foods. Okay, the third rule is called cook. When you cook foods like meats, poultry, and eggs, the heat can kill harmful bacteria. When foods get hot, the heat can kill harmful bacteria. Bacteria cannot tolerate the heat. When you cook foods all the way through to the right temperature, you can get rid of some of these harmful bacteria that might have gotten into the food. Here is a list of some of the proper minimum internal cooking temperatures that are required for cooking. As you can see, foods such as poultry and stuffed meats or meat pastas require higher temperatures to ensure that they're safe from bacteria. You can see poultry is one of the biggest culprits of foodborne illnesses. So you need to cook it for 165 degrees, and it needs to measure 165 degrees for longer than 15 seconds. Okay, so how do you figure out what that is? Haven't you ever used a food thermometer before? They're really easy. They're easy to find, and but you got to make sure that they're accurate. So this is a good little diagram to show you how to make sure a food thermometer is accurate. And it's kind of a good experiment you can do at home with your parents. First step is you take a glass, you put some ice in it, fill it up with water. Make sure that the ice is covered. Let the water sit for a few minutes to make sure it's nice and cold. Then you're going to place a basic common thermometer in the water and let it sit for 30 seconds. The needle should reach 32 degrees Fahrenheit. If it does not reach this temperature, you can calibrate it by using pliers. There's a little nut wrench or little nut washer thing on the thermometer that you can adjust. Or you can just simply buy a new one. Thermometers are pretty expensive and can be purchased in grocery stores and stores like Walmart. Okay, so when you're measuring the temperature of food, make sure you insert the thermometer into the center or the thickest part of the food item. If it's meat, stay away from the bone. If it's really thin, like a thin steak or a hamburger patty, insert it sideways into the meat instead of up and down. Wait for 15 seconds and then read the thermometer. If the foods haven't reached the correct internal temperature, you'll need to cook it some more. This is where those temperatures I just showed you in slide 11 are really important to know. Always make sure to thoroughly clean the thermometer after every time you use it. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the temperature danger zone. This is the zone that foods sometimes fall into when they're not cooked properly or stored properly in the refrigerator. All cold foods must be kept at least 41 degrees Fahrenheit or below, and hot foods must be kept at 135 degrees or higher. Hot or cold foods that aren't kept in the right temperature range can fall in this danger zone, and that's where we see those foodborne illnesses. Okay, the final rule is called separate. This means that we should always separate food that can cause cross-contamination. Raw foods, especially meats and vegetables, should be separated on cutting boards, in bowls, and on plates. Cross-contamination is how bacteria can be spread. Improper handling of raw meat, poultry, seafood, and eggs can create a welcoming situation for cross-contamination. As a result, harmful bacteria can spread to foods and throughout the kitchen, leading to that foodborne illness we talked about. So here are some important ideas to remember. Always separate raw meat, poultry, and those things in your grocery shopping cart, in your grocery bags, and in your refrigerator. Please remember to use one cutting board for fresh produce and a separate one for raw meat, poultry, and seafood. Never place cooked food on a plate that was previously held raw meat, poultry, seafood, and eggs. Kind of an example is if you're cooking outside in a barbecue and your parents ask you to take a plate of raw meat out to the person cooking at the barbecue, and the plate sits there, the person cooks the barbecue, then they put the cooked meat on top of that same plate, you can experience cross-contamination and bring that inside to all the other food. Yuck. Okay, so avoid cross-contamination. Here you can see what I was talking about. This is the most common way that pathogens spread, leading to foodborne illnesses. Okay, if you want to learn more, you can visit www.fightback.org or contact your local extension office to get more information about foodborne illnesses. Thank you.